This announcement is a beautiful announcement. I'm so inspired by it because it's proving what I said in my previous video about how AI cannot possibly destroy humanity, because even as we watch it being developed, we humanity, which is the furthest forward extension of all that is fully in control at the level of the spiritual dynamics underlying how physical reality works. Welcome to Positively Focused. In this video, I'm going to react to the recent announcement of tens of thousands of people signing the petition against superintelligence and give you a perspective from the spiritual fundamentals underlying physical reality. Who am I? I'm Perry Gruber, the Enlightenment Guy. Let's watch this one together.
More than 28,000 people have now signed an online petition calling for a ban on the development of AI superintelligence. As we've been reporting, the list includes hundreds of public figures: Prince Harry and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, Virgin Group founder Sir Richard Branson, actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and conservatives Glenn Beck and Steve Bannon have all signed. Several prominent AI pioneers have also joined the call, and the petition says the prospect of
many people have signed this petition. In fact, it's well over 60,000 people now who have signed the petition, offered by Future Life Foundation, I think it's called. I'll show their website in a moment. This is a fantastic development and evidence. This is so good. Evidence for what I said in my previous video about how AI superintelligence cannot destroy humanity. This is evidence of all that is pure positive energy expressing itself through human individuals in order to move the trajectory of humanity into a future where it continues to expand. This is exactly why I was saying artificial superintelligence is not going to be able to destroy humanity. There's just too much positive momentum in the expressions of all that is, represented by all that is, which includes humanity. There's too much forward momentum in regards to humanity expanding into more. And this petition is exactly the evidence I'm talking about. Let's keep watching.
Several prominent AI pioneers have also joined the call, and the petition says the prospect of superintelligence raises concerns over, quote, losses of freedom, civil liberties, dignity, and control, to national security risks, and even potential human extinction. Anthony Aguirre is one of the organizers.
So I want to scroll back just a second to that screen there and talk about that for a minute. But before we do, I want to address the list of people who are on this petition. Like I said, it's an enormous list of people, and they range across the gamut in terms of our human civilization, and it's a really good thing. These people are being moved in their own selfish self-interest, their personal self-interest. This is so good. This is so good, you guys. You really have to understand the spiritual dynamics underlying how physical reality works to see how this is the perfect response to the race that you're going to hear the founder of the Future of Life, or lifefuture.org representative talking about here. All that is constantly moving into greater levels of expansion. And those greater levels of expansion, what human beings call the future, occur as a result of each individual point of consciousness acting in its own selfish interest, or its own best interest, you could say. And so the people on this, signing this petition, are doing exactly that. And in doing that, they are putting in place the momentum necessary to course correct where the other momentum driving AI, this AI race, is going. It's so beautiful. And what's interesting, the paradox of it is the expressions that they're making for why they want a ban on superintelligence. By the way, this statement on superintelligence, if you look at the website, it's not an all-out ban. What it is a call for intense regulation to ensure that artificial intelligence remains within guardrails, much like other aspects of other innovations that have occurred throughout our commerce, like nuclear weapons, nuclear energy, pharmaceuticals, bioweapons, atomic weapons, etc. It is not unusual for this kind of thing to come about. And so here we have, I think it's near 70,000 people now, calling for more regulation with regard to the development of this technology, artificial superintelligence. And they're not saying they want to ban it outright. This news announcement is a little misleading. They're not wanting to ban it. They're just wanting to put a stop to development until better regulation is in place. And this is why the petition is drawing so many dignitaries, not just in the AI field, but also in government, in spiritual circles, in the nonprofit world, in business, and in arts and media. It is a fantastic demonstration of all that is, moving all that is into greater levels of expansion, which includes artificial superintelligence. This is not going to be the end of artificial superintelligence. It's going to be a better version of superintelligence emerging, which is exactly what I was talking about in my previous video about why artificial superintelligence will not destroy humanity, because we are going to orchestrate the development of that technology in such a way that when superintelligence occurs, it is aligned with the pure positive energy of all that is. And these people, and it's interesting, right? So these people are responding to what they're seeing out of caution, concern, and you could even say fear and insecurity. So they all are coming from a negative place with regard to wanting to put a stop to the current way artificial superintelligence is being pursued. Makes sense. And at the same time, their negative perspective is creating a positive outcome. But the interesting thing, and I'm going to talk about this probably again in a minute here, the interesting thing about what they're doing by creating this petition is they are pushing against the development of artificial superintelligence. They're trying to get it to stop. And the challenge is with anything you're pushing against, when you push against it, it resists. I'm sure you've heard the trite saying, what you resist persists. I extend that to say, what you resist persists and gets bigger. I'm going to talk about this more later here in this reaction video. But right now, I want to address the distortion in the room, evidenced by this quote from The Future of Life. So this is why I know that the Future of Life Institute has some distortion and insecurity in their perspectives of how this future is unfolding. So they're saying here, the concerns range from human economic obsolescence and disempowerment, losses of freedom, civil liberties, dignity, and control, and national security risks, with the potential of human extinction. So almost two-thirds of the things that are listed in that quote, in my opinion, are the opposite of how artificial superintelligence is going to impact humanity. Yes, human beings are going to become economically obsolete. That is a good thing. And the obsolescence that is going to occur as a result of the AI age is going to do exactly the opposite of what the Future of Life Institute is claiming is going to happen. It's claiming that superintelligence is going to cause disempowerment, losses of freedom, losses of civil liberties, loss of dignity and control. In a world where you don't have to work, where the things that you have access to as a result of your current economic activity are provided to you without having to participate in economic activity. I'm going to say that again because it may have been a little confusing. In today's world, the things that you have access to as a result of your economic activity, your participation in the business world or in the markets, through your job, what have you. Pretty much everyone agrees that artificial intelligence is going to upend the market dynamics, economics, and commerce, making products and services, the cost of those products and services, near zero. And as a result of that, creating an age where we have not only artificial superintelligence, but economic superabundance, where anything you might want is available to you almost at no cost. If you follow this logical conclusion, the economists call it the marginal cost curve, as it trends towards zero, that makes however much money you are making at the time more and more, the purchasing power of that money greater and greater. But the more important thing about what I'm talking about here is as superabundance takes over as a result of artificial superintelligence, your freedoms, your empowerment, your liberties and your dignity and your control are all going to increase. Think about it. If you don't have to spend a third of your time or more working, aren't you more free? If you can use that time to do something other than work, aren't you more free? If you have more discretionary time, you're more free. And with the rise of artificial intelligence, even as it takes over jobs that humans currently do, it's also going to provide opportunities for individuals to create things that enable them to generate income without them being the human beings, without them having to do the work. This is a huge positive step that contributes tremendously to empowerment, freedom, and economic viability. So these concerns that they're offering, the concerns are actually reflecting the opposite of what's going to happen. We're going to have more human economic access. We're going to have more empowerment. We're going to have more freedom. And with regard to civil liberties, dignity, and control, in my opinion, when we get to the point where artificial intelligence is at the center of our governance structures, we will see greater, what are they calling them? We will see greater civil liberties for everyone, greater levels of dignity, and greater levels of control. Because these technologies will be agnostic. If they're done right, they will be agnostic as to who they benefit. They will benefit everyone. So 2/3 or more of the things they're listing here as concerns are it's actually the opposite. These are the promises of artificial superintelligence, but you can't see them that way when you're seeing the world, as Elon Musk says, from a place of seeing the glass half empty. You have to see the glass half full, which is the positively focused way of seeing the world. When you see the world from a positively focused perspective, all of these concerns that they're listing, except for one, are actually promises, not perils. The one that I'm referring to that's a problem is the national security risks. But even those are promises, not perils. When you step back and look at the fact that nationalism, I'm meaning that generally, not in the pejorative sense, nationalism has been the source of many of humanity's struggles. National borders, national pride, national identification. So it's a good thing that artificial intelligence is going to disrupt our national security, our national securities of each of the nations, so that we can become more of a single human species instead of human beings divided up into resource-constrained nations and then fighting between the nations in order to gain control and the distribution of those resources. So even the one concern that they offer that I think has concern merit doesn't have any merit, because artificial intelligence is going to address every single one of these things in a positive way, not in a way that has concern. Again, if it's developed correctly. And the paradox of this petition is that on one hand, it's offering us the opportunity to create an artificial intelligence that's human-centric, that is going to support the expansion of human beings. And on the other hand, it's coming at that inevitable outcome in a way that is expressing fear and insecurity. So I think it is a tremendous manifestation, this petition, and what it's offering humanity. Let's keep walking. Let's keep watching.
Anthony Aguirre is one of the organizers of this petition. He's the executive director and secretary of the board of the nonprofit Future of Life Institute and a professor at the University of California, Santa Cruz. Anthony, thanks for being here. So this petition, it says that technology will be able to significantly outperform humans on essentially all cognitive tasks. You ring the alarm bell, not just on the economic consequence, but also, as I mentioned, possible extinction. How so?
Well, if we have AI that is smarter than the top human experts, and we may have that soon, we have currently AI that is smarter than everyone in some things, and it's catching up in other things like math and physics and programming. Not the best, but better than most people, and improving really fast. So if we have something that's better across the board and could act on its own and pursue complex goals better than the most effective people, faster and cheaper. So what does that mean? Well, we're already seeing AI replacing people in various roles: creators, therapists, companions, teachers, and so on. And companies are working really hard to build AI that can do the full range of things humans can, because they want to slot AI systems in for human workers. There's enormous money in that, for the companies.
So I did some research on our distinguished guest here, Anthony, and he has the right bona fides as an astrophysicist, I think he is, and a scientist, to make some of these statements. But when it comes to business, I don't think he's got it all together. So, and especially with regard to money. So let's talk about what he just said here. As I said earlier in this video, and you're going to hear it more in more of my content on Positively Focused, all that is expands as a result of each instance of all that is. An instance of all that is like you and me, birds, bees, rocks, plants, etc. All that is expands as a result of each instance of all that is expressing itself along the lines of its personal self-interest. In a different video, I talked about how I had a reaction video actually to Bernie Sanders' announcement a few weeks ago about how he frames billionaires pitted against the rest of us as the billionaires are investing in artificial intelligence. But remember what I just said about how all that is expands. These billionaires are the only ones who have the resources to invest in artificial intelligence. And the money they're putting in to artificial intelligence is already beginning to benefit people like you and me. I don't know about you, but I've been benefited tremendously from ChatGPT, Replit, which is a full stack software engineer powered by AI, and other applications of artificial intelligence in my personal life and in my business life. And I know that there are at least tens of millions of others out there, because 30 million people, I believe, are using ChatGPT, and that's just ChatGPT, not counting the others. So what am I saying here? The billionaires, the businesses that are making money, that are pursuing their individual self-interest, are doing so, and by doing so, expanding all that is, which is including you and I. Anthony here is claiming that the businesses just want to make a lot of money. Well, that's their personal self-interest. That's what they're on the planet for. But as they do so, they're developing a better future. In the same way that, for example, Henry Ford developed the Ford motor car in his own personal self-interest and ended up benefiting that car. The invention of the car benefited all of humanity. Now, you could say that there are downsides to that invention, but nevertheless, you cannot not claim that human civilization has been improved as a result, or lifestyle has not been improved as a result of the invention of the automobile. Same goes with the steam engine. Same goes with the airplane. Same goes with all of the inventions that were invented by individuals in their own personal self-interest. This is how all that is expands. So it's a good thing that we have businesses that see the opportunity of making a lot of money by replacing workers with humanoid robots and other robot form factors. It's a good thing. And having people not having to work a third of their lives, it's actually I would say most people, this isn't a statistic, I would say most people work far more than 8 hours a day in their work week in order to keep their job. It's a good thing that those people are going to be replaced by humanoid robots and other form factors, because number one, they're going to be free. They're going to be freed from having to work. Number two, the products and services that they used to make or deliver are going to be made cheaper, but much higher quality. Those workplaces are no longer going to be dangerous places for human beings to be in, because humanoid robots and other form factors are going to do those jobs. Human beings don't have to deal with the challenges of having jobs that are repetitive and boring. They don't have to incur the mental and physical troubles they develop as a result of working in their jobs. This is all good stuff, and it's all happening for the very reason that Anthony is saying is a bad thing, which is these companies want to make a lot of money. Now, he says they want to make a lot of money for them. They want to make a lot of money for them. But the way money works is there's enough money for everybody. And when we move into the age of superintelligence, which is going to create an economic environment of superabundance, that includes money. We as a civilization are going to have to figure out a better way of allocating money. Because number one, the dollar is going to go much farther as things get cheaper, but of better quality. You're not going to have to buy as many of the same thing as you do now because of planned obsolescence, because things are going to be made to last. And in some way, humanity is going to figure out how to replace the incomes you get from work with another way of providing you an income, because you're not going to be able to work because artificial intelligence is going to take over those roles. And so you're going to have plenty of money. And by the way, many of the things that you currently pay money for, you're not going to have to pay money for in the future. So, and all of that is going to be made possible because these companies, it's more specifically, more accurately said, the people who are running these companies are wanting to make a lot of money. That is a good thing. but Anthony thinks it's a bad thing. This is the distortion. This is the paradox. The distortion that exists within the good news that is manifested as this petition. Everything is paradoxical from the perspective of the spiritual dynamics underlying how physical reality works. You have to be able to see the paradox to be able to understand that all things that are happening on the planet are good. Okay, let's keep watching.
Then you ask, like, where does this end? If AI starts replacing not just workers, but CEOs, and not just soldiers, but generals, then pretty soon it's going to be in charge of most things, making most of the decisions. The people are going to...
That's exactly right. And it's a good thing, especially if we develop artificial superintelligence in a way that fosters the expansion and well-being of humankind. It will be a better decision maker. Just like self-driving cars are increasingly becoming better drivers, better than humans. And this is controversial, but it's true. Artificial intelligent fighter pilots are unmatched with regard to dogfight. The same thing is true everywhere we've put artificial intelligence in place. So if we foster an artificial intelligence that is capable of maintaining the well-being or expanding even the well-being and prosperity of humankind, and then put it in governance, it's going to do better than human beings, because human beings are capricious. They're capricious. They are often coming from distorted perceptions. They often make enemies of other human beings. They often malign and believe that other human beings aren't worthy of having things, or aren't worthy of being treated with dignity and respect. You're talking about earlier in this video, in this announcement, they showed they showed the concerns in that quote. One of those was loss of dignity. There are, I would say, tens of millions of human beings right now where artificial intelligence isn't in charge that suffer tremendous indignities. Just look at the Palestinians. Look at African Americans in some states in the United States. Look at Mexicans. Look at illegal immigrants here in the United States. Is there dignity there? When you put artificial intelligence, an artificial intelligence that has been developed with human well-being and prosperity in mind, it's going to make decisions that benefit everybody, not just some. And the only way to get there is to get human beings out of that calculus. And I believe that's where artificial intelligence is going. So Anthony is offering a distorted perspective. He's not seeing the bigger picture. In my commentary video on why we're not ready for artificial superintelligence, I offer the masterclass commercial featuring Neil deGrasse Tyson, where he talks about people who think they're right because they have some information, but they don't have enough information to know that they're wrong. And in this case, Tony has just enough information, Anthony has just enough information to think he's right, but not enough information to know that he's wrong. Having artificial intelligence, especially artificial intelligence that's been developed on the basis of fostering human prosperity and well-being, will make better decisions in governance than human beings can make. And that's a good thing. Let's keep listening to Tony.
Obsolete, but also the key decisions about the future are going to be made by machines and not people. And the questions get pretty existential for our species at that point.
Talk to me about what regulations you want to see if you've kind of scratched that surface, and what would be the conditions to unban it?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is call off the race. We can't really govern AI in a reasonable way when we're in this, frankly, crazy situation where a third of the industry leaders are basically trying to bring about like a post-human singularity. A third of them literally want to take over the world, and a third of them just want to replace most human labor with machines and hoover up the earnings for themselves instead.
So he offers these thirds that I want to talk about. First, I should say, I agree with Anthony, with regard to ending the race. The race is what is creating what the narrator and the writers in the previous video I commented on about how we're not ready for artificial superintelligence. They called it indifference, artificial intelligence indifference towards humanity. That's happening not because artificial intelligence is malevolent. It's happening because of the way human beings are developing artificial intelligence. They're running this race, and they're not developing it with the central tenet being the prosperity and well-being of humanity. That's the problem. It's not artificial intelligence that's the problem. It's human beings that is the problem. And so I agree with Anthony here that we should end this race that he's talking about, because it is that race that is creating, it is human beings being impatient that is creating an artificial intelligence that is indifferent to humanity. So I agree with him there. That needs to change. Now let's talk about the 3/3 that he mentioned here. The first third of people developing artificial intelligence are those that want to usher in, he calls it the post-human singularity, but that's not what it's called. The second group of people is people who want to control the world. A third of people that want to control the world. The third group, he said, were people who just want to basically hoover up all the money. So with regard to that first group, if you don't already know, you should look up the singularity. It is not post-human. What it is an inflection point where we move from the current reality we have to a reality that is unimaginable, because so much has been achieved, so many discoveries have been made, and so many breakthroughs have happened. The people who understand the singularity see it as hugely promising, a huge adventure into the unknown. This is why this first third of people are wanting it to happen, because it offers tremendous opportunity for humanity and the future. It's a very, very good thing. So the first group isn't the malevolent group. The second group, the group that wants to control the world, so it depends on where you're coming from with regard to the phrase controlling the world. I know, for example, because he said it so many times, that Elon Musk wants to create the Star Trek universe. It's not about him being in control. It's about him wanting to live in a world or a universe where we have very advanced future technologies that are enable us to live lives along the lines depicted in the franchise, in the Star Trek franchise. Superabundance, no need to work, people following their passions in an environment that is unbelievable with regard to its utopian characteristics enabled by technology. I know for a fact that's what Elon Musk wants, because he said it. And I believe that there are others that Anthony is putting in the bucket of people who want to control the world who feel similarly. Now, there may be some people, I know there is rumor that Mark Zuckerberg has some control the world fantasies, but these people are acting in their personal best interest. And their personal best interests, as I said before, assist in the expansion of all that is. And if you look at, let's call them demagogues, just to slap a label on them, this middle third of people who want to control the world, probably the most effective demagogue has been Adolf Hitler. The others, Joseph Stalin, I would say that guy who did the Chinese Revolution long ago, I don't remember his name. I want to say it's Chairman Mao. These people did have some impact with regard to achieving their goals, but every single one of them petered out. Why? Because negative momentum does not have a source from which to draw more energy. Only positive momentum has that. And so, no matter how much progress a nefarious individual has acting out of their self-interest, they contribute to the expansion of all that is, because all that is purely positive and will eventually nullify the effect of that individual. So, with regard to the second third, 2/3 of them, well, let's say the first third, they're wanting the promise they see. The second third, the people who want to control the world, in that population, there are some people, the reason why they want to control the world are seeing a world that is going to be fantastic, and they want to live in that world, and so that's why they're driving it. And if you objectively look at the world they're wanting to create, it's a really great world for all of us. And then there's some number of that second third population that has nefarious intents. And those people are not going to be able to take their intents very far, because pure positive energy is one of the spiritual dynamics underlying how physical reality works. So they're just not going to get very far. The third group of people he talks about are the people who want to hoover up all the money. First of all, they can't hoover up all the money because that's not how money works. Secondly, in a little while, once the ban performs its job of reorienting humanity toward developing a more human-centered artificial superintelligence, in a little while after that is accomplished, money is not going to be relevant anymore, especially with the rise of cryptocurrencies and altcoins and other Web3 decentralized developments. Money's days are numbered. And so even if that last third were able to hoover up all the money, who cares? Money's not going to play a role in the not too far off future. So the first third is a positive group. The second third contains people who are positive, and the nefarious people in that second third are going to be ineffective in the long run. The last third, they're just totally distorted, running on distortion. Greed is a distortion, and they're just not going to be able to achieve what they think they're going to achieve, because the world is changing so dramatically away from money that there's not going to be any money for them to hoover up in the future. So again, there is nothing that Anthony is talking about here that is negative. It's all positive. But the fact that he is, and the petition signers are focusing on the negative, they are in fact promoting the promise. They're promoting the future that I see, seeing it from the perspective of the spiritual dynamics underlying how physical reality works. It's so beautiful to see. That's why I think this petition and this announcement is great news. Let's watch the rest of this.
It's hard to describe sort of how serious and how crazy this is. So we need to call off the race. And I think it takes government to do that. And then we need safety standards, and safety standards like every other industry, from airplanes to biopharmaceuticals to sandwiches. All of them have more regulation in the US than AI currently does. So there have to be safety standards where a company has to demonstrate to someone else that what they're doing is safe before they go and do it.
Anthony Aguirre, thanks for joining.
Excellent. This is excellent. So this is an excellent announcement. I totally agree with him that the safety standards need to be put in place. And this is the result. I'm going to move this up to just him by himself. This is the result. Again, this is the result of people acting in their selfish interest, wanting to ban AI. But when you go and read the petition, they're not actually wanting to ban AI indefinitely. They're just wanting to put in place these guidelines, these guardrails that Anthony is talking about at the end of this announcement. And because so many people are likely to sign that petition, it's going to have a positive effect on the development of AI. Government is going to step in. And so what we're seeing, let me put myself back on because this is so cool. What we're seeing is exactly what I was talking about in my previous video about how AI cannot destroy humanity. What we're seeing here is human beings, almost 70,000 of them, there's going to be more, acting in their best self-interest, and as a result of that, beginning to have an effect on how AI is developed going forward. There's another there's a YouTuber called Silly Conversations, and he talks about, I think it's 7 things he would like to see about AI. Many of the things he says I don't agree with, but one of the things he mentioned is how China and the United States are pretty much dominating AI development. And China has already come out and said that, and is beginning to put in place safeguards to control the development of AI. When the United States does too, and I believe it will, because of the pressure of the American people, we're going to see even more course corrections with regard to development of AI. So as I said, so here's the thing, you guys, this is so good. It's hard for human beings to do this, what I'm about to say, because they don't have full control of their thinking. But life is going perfectly for everyone. And if you can step back and get a bigger picture of what's really going on in physical reality, which requires an understanding of the spiritual dynamics underlying how physical reality works, then you naturally begin to relax into your joy, freedom, and empowerment. Because there's nothing going on this planet that is bad. Everything is working out for everybody. And when you get into that space, then you align yourself with the pure positivity that is all that is. And when that happens, you begin to see more of your life going exactly how I said, which is always working out for you. And the more you do that, the more you see, the more you see, the more you do that. It's just a flywheel that ends you up in a place of pure positivity, empowerment, joy, and appreciation for yourself, for life, and for everyone on the planet. So this announcement is a beautiful announcement. I'm so inspired by it because it's proving what I said in my previous video about how AI cannot possibly destroy humanity, because even as we watch it being developed, we humanity, which is the furthest forward extension of all that is fully in control at the level of the spiritual dynamics underlying how physical reality works. So good. All right. Eager to hear your feedback or response or criticisms or yeah buts. So until the next video, I'll see you in the comments and see you in that next video.